Okay, time for another Atari hardware video. In my endeavours here to become a bit more organised, I've set up a little space for some of my machines. I've got an Atari 800XL to the left there with a couple of drives. I think that one's stock. There's another one behind it, again I think working but stock condition. On top there I've got my 7800. I've got my 2600 Woody light sixer there, not a heavy sixer unfortunately, and I've got a 600XL there, and in the middle my Atari 800. Now all of these, or most of these, have had things done to them. I think these two are in stock condition, but yeah, that's had a composite video mod on it because it only had RF output previously. The same with the 2600, that's got a composite mod. The 600XL, that's got an Incognito in it and a Sophia 1, which used to be in my other 800XL that's on the other desk. That's had all manner of upgrades. That's now got a Sophia 2 in it. It's also got Spectre for improving on the stock video that isn't digital. That's also got Aki USB, Pokémax, Incognito, Ultimate 1 megabyte. That's my real workhorse machine that's got, every manner of upgrade to make it everything that an Atari can be. But to be honest, the Atari 800 is getting pretty close to that. I've had this since May 2024, I've just realised, looking at my eBay listing for it. It's had original fix. I sort of replaced all the capacitors on the board because it was coming up with a black screen to begin with. That didn't really do anything. Eventually, what chip was that? Was that the GTIA or was that the Pokey that had an issue? The issue was ultimately the socket needed resoldering, replacing, because we weren't getting proper connectivity to one or two of those chips. That fixed it, made it working in its stock condition, and I went on to put the Incognito in that. So ultimately it behaves just like an XL machine. Now, the final upgrade that I was looking at for this one is the Supercolor CPU card. Now this is ultimately a board that replaces the CPU board. It takes the main CPU, I believe the GTIA and the Antic as well. So you take them off the original board, replace it with this one, and it comes with its own video output cable, or you can do something a little bit different and connect it to the video connector inside the board, and that's what we're going to have a look at. Now the interesting thing about this is once I've got it working, the video is quite decent as it is from stock on this machine, and I do kind of wonder with the amount of capacitors I replaced whether I've actually made it pretty damn good as it is. So I'm going to be kind of critical and baseline this to begin with and have a look at the existing video before we embark on putting the Supercolor in, because I want to see if there is a distinct difference and whether it is worth doing this to a machine. Okay, we're going to do a little baseline video testing of this Atari 800. Let's just go back to basic here. Right, let's get some text on the screen. Having a little look at that. I mean, it's pretty clear. Possibly very faint bars in the vertical. Very, very faint. We got a little bit of cross hatching going on the edges, but I think that's maybe normal. This is what I'm saying. This video does look quite good. Now, brightness, potentially a little bit dull. The only way I'm really going to test this properly is to look at a few games that I'm familiar with. Okay, mine are 2049. I mean, it's clear. I think that is rather nice. So I've spent a lot of time looking at output for my machines through capture cards, and I think at times they have been giving me inconsistent results. But just putting this through, a pretty bog standard LCD screen here. So this is, rather nice as it is. I suppose if anything, I don't know, it's hard to put your finger on it, but it isn't maybe as bright as you would like it, but it's not anything terrible. You know, that is nice looking video output. What else can we try? This is a rather dark game I'm thinking of, so if that is the thing, we might notice something. Again, this is rather nice. You know, it's a very dark game, but yeah, I'm still able to see all the colours rather nicely. I'm not playing this very well, I'm just storming in. So yeah, you might argue this upgrade I'm looking at doing is upgrades for the sake of upgrades. I'm not sure what I'm looking for in terms of improvement, because it's rather damn good as it is. But I've bought the product, I've kind of committed to it now. In terms of invasiveness, we've got a few chips to remove and transplant into the card. That's not too tricky, very reversible. But the way I'm looking to do the video, I don't want to use the cable that comes with it. I want to cable it up, if this becomes permanent, into the existing video output. To do that, I've got to lift a couple of inductors and a resistor, I believe, and then connect the cable between there and the Supercolor CPU card. It does occur to me, do I test first? Do I use the cable to output directly to my TV? Yeah, it might be worth a go. Let's see how I get on and see how I feel. The next thing is really going to be to take this apart and get cracking. Just going to have one last little game. Always seem to cycle around the old favourites. And again, this is quite dark, it's a space game. The black, is that black not as black as it could be? Is that a little bit washed out? Maybe. So maybe that's what we're looking at from this upgrade. Are we going to get really defined, crisp contrast? Really, it's got to be amazing to be justifying both the expense for the product and the time to install it, or expense paying someone else to install it if that's the route that you've taken. So yeah, let's have a go. Everything's reversible, we'll see how it compares. Okay, we're almost ready to get back working on this machine. Just taking a look here at the components replaced already. We got the various RAM modules there. They're all sort of covered by the incognito. And then we've got the OS and the basic ROM there. Again, the incognito does that functionality. And then we got all manner of capacitors and various other components that were replaced. My first attempt to really fix this machine, but to no avail. But doesn't hurt to replace all those old components. That potentially has cleaned up my video to some degree as it was. And there's the RF modulator, which I took off just because we're never going to use that again, as with the RF cable that's taken out there. So yeah, if we just open up the top part of the case, there's the cartridge bays, but I don't think the retaining screw is in at the moment, so we should be able to completely remove that top piece. And you can see there various free slots that used to have the original modules, all replaced by that single incognito card there. Also having the flash card to allow me to load games off our drive interface. So yeah, that's all rather nice. So we're going to put in this final upgrade that's going to, potentially optimize our video output from the machine. So what you can't see there is a further card nestled behind, which is the CPU card. We're going to have to start taking this apart to get to that. Be careful putting the keyboard off there. It did come off at a bit of a funny angle. Just have a look at that. Yikes. Yeah, really have to be careful putting that back on. Now, do we need to remove the incognito at this point? I'm not sure. Possibly. This is the thing, I don't look inside these machines for several months on end, and I really forget what the situation is. Right, remembering that is in the bottom position. Oh, it's almost quite annoying to have to disconnect this. Do I have to? Yeah, I think I do. Okay. Motherboard completely out. There we go. Okay, we're in. Yeah, maybe we didn't have to take the incognito out, but yeah, doesn't matter. Okay, so that's my Atari 800 stripped down to the part of the motherboard we need to get to. Let's move this out of the way for a moment and have a look at what we've received. Right, so a package I received from a gentleman called Jurgen Van Radecke. I hope I've not completely garbled your name there. This is the Supercolor CPU card. So there we go, that's what it looks like there. And in the package comes, oh yeah, rather nice Atari logo there. We like that. Stick that there for the moment. This cable, which is for an audio connector, we'll talk about that in a little while. And this video female 5-pin DIN video connector. I'm thinking we're going to connect this up first for a test. So what are we going to have to do here? So let's have a look at this card. You see on the left there we've got a CTIA or GTIA connector. Then we've got another socket there for an Antic, and here I think is for the main CPU. Let's go back to the main machine. This is the card that we're ultimately replacing. So let's pull this out of here. And this is where I recall we've got a couple of fly cables here. Now, what are those for? They are incognito cables. Part of the incognito install was to connect those two there, and I believe we have headers that will do exactly the same thing. Yep, there we go. Pads for incognito, halt and ready. They're going to have to come off, and I'm going to have to remember which one is which. So that's one little thing we have to do. But apart from that, this blade is the same form factor. Let's turn that over carefully as it's still connected up. And we can see what we need to transplant across there. Those three 40-pin ICs. Okay, for a combination of checking back on the original incognito instructions from Candle and also a little colour map chart that I've got on one of my videos for the incognito install, I've worked out the green cable there is the halt signal, which I need to connect to a halt pad there, and the black is the ready, and there's a pad for that one there too. That corresponds to, in the Flash Jazz Cats video, the halt was actually the yellow cable and the ready was the green, rather confusingly, but those are the colour cables that came with the incognito from Retro Lemon. So yeah, green halt, black ready. So those have got to be resoldered onto that card, and we've got to take the ICs off. So let's do the ICs first. So looking at the positions on the card there, rather helpfully, they're orientated exactly the same. So we have the GTIA goes there, that's the GTIA, the Antic goes there, and then we've got our 6502, our CPU goes there. And we can even see through the socket there, the corresponding chip codes match up, all the compatible chips. We have to match this there with the numbers that we have on our original chips. Okay, let's move that out of the way. Let's try and tease these chips out. That's the third and final one there. Let's change angles here because we need to get on with some soldering. Okay, that's that one off. And that's that one off. Yeah, that green wire is going to be awkward. So we untin it. Get that a bit more. Yeah, that goes through. Hoping they just stay poking through nicely. And just lean that up perfect. Solder on those pads. It's a bit hot, that iron, isn't it? A bit too hot. Turn that down a bit. Okay, that's nicely done there. Something else we've got to do though. So there is a sound pickup from the board for this upgrade, which kind of makes sense if you need to port sound through the output from this super color CPU card. But if, as I'm doing, we're planning to take the sound, take the video through the stock video connector, the sound is already ported through that. I don't really see the point of using these sound connectors here, but there is a point in the manual that says if you're not going to use it, you need to connect those together. So this is apparently quite important. If you're not using the audio circuit on the supercolor, you need to short these together. Okay, not the most elegant way of doing it, but this is what we've gone for. Just going to need to insulate that. Perfect. So now let's look at this video cable. This is the one that's come with it. I think we're going to do a little test with this cable first. Ground, Luma, Chroma, C video, ground and audio. I'm going to have to look at the manual, aren't I? Find some insulating tape from somewhere. Any unnecessary shorting. Not very pretty, I know. We'll sort that out later. Maybe. Right. Need a smaller screwdriver than that, don't we? Okay, this is what we've had to come up with. I think that will do it. Furthest away from the audio is ground, which is black. Black, white, brown, yellow, grey, green. Black closest to potentiometer. So that's ground, black. And we've got Luma on white. Yeah, so I don't know why these connector blocks are used. Maybe it's for a better solid video connection. But they are a bit of a pain, especially when the screws are this small, like this scale. Use bigger ones of these. Yeah, I really had to hunt around for the right screwdriver for this. So the brown one was the chroma, and then the yellow is the composite video. Then the next one is grey, which I think is another ground. And the last one is labelled audio, which, as mentioned, I don't think we're actually using. It won't be producing any output for this test, but we're going to put it in because it's got to go somewhere. And you know, if the test looks promising, I think we're going to reuse this cable. Anyway, I'm just going to tidy this bit up a little bit. Just got a bit of shrink tubing there. I'm just going to heat close to that. Nothing too advanced here. That'll do. Right, okay. I'm going to need keyboard, aren't I? Do this very carefully down here. Don't like it. It's going to break off any moment. Alright, okay, that's as in as that's going to go. Okay. Why do I not just put the base underneath it? Rests a little bit better there while we're testing this. Right, let's do this. So we're going to hook in to the supplied video cable. I'm going to provide some power. Might need a joystick in a minute. Easier said than done when the case isn't quite in position. That video cable is really getting in the way. Might be able to route it slightly differently here. Temporarily have you coming out of there. Okay, are we ready? That doesn't look good. I'm going to turn that off. Okay, I think I had the jumpers wrong. As usual, we're demonstrating all the wrong ways to do things first. So, there's jumpers for the CPU type. In this one it's 1 and 2. And there's a jumper for PAL or NTSC that was by default in NTSC. And this is a PAL machine. Let's go. But we're still not out of the woods. Something's very wrong. Is there anything wrong with this? Yes, I am. There's a pin that's not gone in properly in that first IC. Is that the GTIA? Oh my gosh, let's hope I've not damaged the GTIA. Nothing too serious, I hope. Just a... Oh! Yeah, I've just bent that pin round. Let's see if we can repair that. Silly, silly, silly. All I see is we don't have ready spares available in an abundance. Oh, careful, Tim. Right, hold on. I'm going to do this off camera. I've kind of straightened that as best as I can. I'm going to try and gently push it back in. See this socket. Sorry, I'm slightly at the reach of where I'm looking with the camera, I realise, but nothing special going on here, nothing to see here. So they're all lining up before I put pressure in. There's one there that isn't quite... Yeah, that's not lining up either. Went in a bit easily before. Right. Everything looks generally quite good. Whew. Right, hoping for the best. Yes. Right, we have video. Well, something's going on. Well, we're better than we were, but we've got a reboot cycle of sorts going on here. What's that all about? Right, let's have a closer look. I was saying this was greyed out before. I'd like to believe that looks a bit darker. It's very hard to tell, indeed. Very hard to tell. Obviously we've got no sound at the moment because we haven't routed that through. But if we decide to go permanent, we'll be getting that from a different source. I mean, it's certainly as good, if not better than before. That's what I'll confidently say. There's definitely no deterioration. That's very, very good video. That looks quite bright. Everything looks very bright, I'll give it that. Didn't really want to fall down there. Not comparing the same screens. But I think it was only ever going to be a slight improvement because we had, I think, the best quality stock video. It was a very nice machine to begin with. But yeah, it is perfect. It is rather good. There's nothing wrong with that. So there we have it. I think we've gone from near perfect video to perfect video. Was it worth it? Put it this way, if your video was significantly more degraded, if you just turned on an Atari 800 after 30 to 40 years and everything looked horrible, you'd probably be best off going for this option as opposed to replacing multiple other components, capacitors and what have you on the board. But that said, if you fancy it, that did have a very good effect on this machine. I've got to believe that's the case. I never actually got output from the machine before I'd made those changes, but I would imagine with those old components I wouldn't have got as good a quality video as I did. But yeah, I mean, I'm going to be looking at this afterwards and painstakingly comparing these two videos to really see if I can see it. But, you know, this is spot on. Am I kidding myself? Was it this good before? I've got a feeling it's a little bit brighter, a little bit better contrast. The more I look at it, the more I'm seeing the clean lines. I'm happy with that. I'll try and justify it a little bit more in the rest of this video. That is, unless I prove that I'm deluding myself when I look at the footage. But there we go. So the next part of this video will be permanently cabling this into the Atari 800's video output port on the right hand side. And then there might be a little bonus exercise at the end which I've got in mind. And then we'll close this one up.
Need to get at this, so we're going to have to take the keyboard connector off carefully once more. I hate doing this because it's so stiff. I don't know if there's anything I can do about that. These pins are not going to last much longer, but I don't really have a lot of choice. I don't know if I can do anything. They feel corroded, so whether I can clean those pins up a bit before we proceed after I've pulled this connector off. I don't really want to do that. Just trying to get equal pressure either side. This is also rather precarious. I'll just get that a bit higher up. Oh, there we goes. Right. Okay. Let's pop that over there and get that case out of the way. Some of the older isopropanol Q-tip. Cotton, oh god, I'm turning American. Cotton bud. There's a fair amount of grime coming off there. So, definitely worth doing. Whether it's going to make it any easier to connect will remain to be seen later on. Right, so what have we got to do here? First of all, I think we need to release that. Let's leave that connected for a moment, just for planning, to work out how this is going to go. Now, I'm reasonably sure, is that going to go in there safely? then, so yeah, just to explain what we're doing, we're going to be losing this and trying to use this connector on the side of the board, which is, you've got another 5-pin DIN. I don't know if there's any other way to do it. I mean, you wouldn't want to unsolder that and pop that out there. That seems like overkill, because unfortunately it's a great cable, but we're going to have to chop it, and the points we need to solder into are around about here. So yeah, I think that's reasonable. Is it worth putting the case on the top just to look at, is anything going to be in the way? Always worth double checking. So yeah, so the pillars, I don't know if you can see that, they're completely out the way there, so it can sit relatively nicely. But what about the great big heatsink that we haven't put back on? That, of course, is a different story, so we've got to work this out carefully. Because, of course, that goes on before the power, so let's get rid of this. That could probably do with a cleaner. That's only 4 pins, so that's not too hard. Yeah, those. Oh, yeah. Oh, well, we've got it out. Let's do this. Okay, got to look after these machines. Okay, so where does that put us? That goes that side, and there's like rubber pads on the board which stops it from touching this shielding and shorting on it. Right, so I think really it's positioning like this. We can work out what the hell's going on. It's got to go inside then, hasn't it? Interesting. So can it sit there at all? Does it loop round the back there? Is it going to fit? Yeah, I think there is enough of a gap. I think so. Yeah. I think that's fine. That tucks nicely behind there, so we're all good. Right, I'm referring to some notes that I made earlier. We've got various points here, and I'm looking at them upside down. That is the direction I'm going to come from, because I don't want to reach over all of this stuff, and there's no need to remove it in a moment. So R189 is, there should be an inductor there. Right, so let's start at the top. The writing is underneath each of them from my angle, so above them really. R189, sorry, it's a resistor, of course, because it's R. R189 is that little guy there, nestling in between those two. Then we've got L105 is right next to it. It is, yeah, it's that guy, L105. And then we've got composite goes to L104, which is an inductor. And that's that one there. So it's these three together, isn't it? L104 is there, R189 is there. And then finally, there is a ground connector that I need to make. Where was the suggested position? So I've written down from looking at other guides, past that C163 should be somewhere above here. It's there, C163. So I think that is a ground point that I'm pointing to there. Now, I wasn't 100% sure, but I've already double checked with the Supercolor CPU card in place. This has completely replaced the video. There's nothing coming out of the video circuit. I was wondering if there would be simultaneously for purposes of comparison, but we'll have to do that with my previous video. So we're not going to really have any qualms about removing these components completely. So from both sides, we'll keep them just in case we ever, want to reverse this, but that's never really going to happen. And yeah, we'll take them completely off the board instead of just having them waving in the breeze. Right, let's get cracking. Wow, that came out quickly. Right, there we go, there's one. Next. I'm going to go right down to the end because it's a fatter component, it's kind of in the way. I'll do the middle one last. Just moving a bit. Got it. Okay. There we go. Now, obviously we've got to remove them from the other side. There we go. Lovely stuff. Now, needs to do a bit of a clean up now. Need to use one side of that Q-tip. On the other side, just going to put a bit of flux over this. There we go, nice 3 holes one side. I mean, to be fair, we don't really need to do the other side. Yeah, there's a bit of solder left in those holes, but oh, come on, let's clean it up. Just in case we need to put them back in. Okay. Now, at this point, I'm afraid we're going to have to chop this cable. Just in case we ever use it for anything, let's just take that out of there. How far back do we go? I reckon about that far. Plastic, there we go. Don't think I've gone through anything inside, I really hope not. Okay, lovely. So we're going to be connecting the shielding to ground, so just going to twist that a little. So the yellow is the composite, the white is the luma, the chroma is the brown, the grey is ground that needs to go with the shield. So I don't think we are using green or pink at all. A reminder, I think audio is on at least one of those. I'm not sure what the other one is, but we won't be using that because that's going to be going through into the 5-pin DIN from the board as it is, and we're just injecting the video. First of all, let's just see if I can bear. Maybe the way through here is to get the ground in first, so we know how far the rest of it has got to flex. Just trying to get a bit of heat shrink. The solder joint to be at the angle I want it to sit. Is that good enough? I think it might be. That's pretty solid. Oh, I'm actually, yeah, I'm in. Yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Okay, let's press on. So we've got L105 is the chroma, R189 is that one, and the final one, L104, was that first inductor. It's the way I've written this is a bit weird here. I'm having to keep look backwards and forwards. That's the composite, so the yellow goes into the first one. Let's go. Doesn't want to go through the hole. Is that soldering the hole or soldering the wire? Might actually hold it in. Yep, that is indeed holding it in. It could make life a lot easier because the whole assembly is by the force of the wire just keeping it in place. Do we need a bit of tape? I don't really want to have to rip it off afterwards. I'm just going to carefully turn this over. If they stay in place, this is where they're coming to the other side of the board. We've got the 3 wires almost all the way through. This brown one's just got pushed back a bit. I think there's enough solder in there already, so hopefully if I just, oh, it's coming all the way out, but let's see. Oh, it's a bit of flex on the cable is pulling it back, so it really needs to be a solid joint. Right, let's sort this out. The end of the wire has got a bit frayed, which has not helped matters. Right, it's basically either going to go through the hole or it isn't now, because I've tinned it. Yes, it is. Lovely, that's better. Right, holding it and not letting go. Oh, that's a much bigger bit of wire going through. Right, we're well in place. Okay, so there we go. There's the 3 points coming through. Clean those up in a moment. And yeah, I need to sort my ground out. Shouldn't be too hard now the others are still in place. Okay, now what we've got to do, make sure it's going where we need it. I think it's going to be like that. And I think we need to do a bench test in a moment. Okay, now let's bring a few things back together so we can do a bench test and just make sure the positioning is all going to look okay at the same time. How's that going? Through like that. I really feel we need to do something at some point to secure this when we know what the final position is going to be, because these coming off could be disastrous in the future. Just going to sit. Without a keyboard, that's as far as we're going to get, but that should be enough to get an initial screen output, surely. Let's have a look. Wait for that to warm up. Right, okay. And there we go. Immediately we've got video output through the original connector, but this is of course using the Supercolor CPU card. I will call that a success. Now it's just all about proper assembly to make sure we've got that cable routing, so we're just not going to pull these out. Have to give that a little bit of thought in a moment. If I can sneak a cable tie in somewhere to just, you know, take away, you know, some of the pull that we're going to get, that will be perfect. There we go. Let's have a look. Oh, I don't know. It's doing quite a job of staying in there by itself once it's sort of rooted like this. Maybe I'm overthinking it. I think that's going to be okay. Supercolor is pushed down. So of course the Supercolor CPU card needs to sit here and the incognito needs to sit here. There's a lot of additional wires that need to find their way. Wow, okay. It's very snug, but it should work. Right, let's have a look. We've ended up losing the slack sort of behind there, which is not where I expected it to go, but it really doesn't actually matter because you can't see any of that. Now that cable, we'll revisit this soon. That is the connector for the ATR switch, and it's not got its final location yet, so it's waving in the breeze, and it's now got caught. Oh, damn it. Because we just got that in a nice position. There we go. Right, we're in. Okay. Now, time to take a little break, I think. Okay, hopefully that's going to work. So let's get some more pieces back on. Hopefully we won't have to reverse any of this. Oh, where am I going? Okay, let's put the last few things back together. First of all, is that going to close up properly? Something a bit proud there. Why is that? Oh, well, I notice first of all that we need to just plug this in there. Pushing down a bit more, I think that's all that was. Yeah, that's going to close. Right, let's see if our keyboard connector is going to go on any more smoothly. Oh, not quite. Yeah, actually that is a bit better. It's still a bit rough. Maybe the contacts inside the connector are a bit rough, but certainly that has made a big difference. And maybe even just pushing it in has scraped them off a bit cleanly. Right, I'm very keen to test this now, so we're not going to put the final screws in yet. And we've got video and we've got sound. So there we go. That is exactly what we were looking for. Okay, we've got sound. That's good. So that was my install of the Supercolor CPU card on my Atari 800. So definitely gives a great quality of video output. It's a really good piece of engineering, integrating the UAV onto a CPU card. Was it the best upgrade for this particular Atari? Well, it's definitely got perfect video. It was looking pretty good prior to this upgrade though, but I definitely recommend this if you were grading Atari 800 which had poor quality video that hadn't had anything else done to it. It's a great option, a drop-in card that's, you know, pretty straightforward to install. So I hope this video was useful to anyone who's thinking of doing the same thing.
Eagle-eyed viewers might have noticed little side quests that I went on during this video that I sort of sneakily edited out, so I'm going to put out a little bit of extra content for a final modification that I've done to this Atari 800 while I had it open, which really I think makes it as perfect as I wanted it to be. So yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for watching. This was TJ Atari. Take care everyone.